Everyone, it is the Mortgage Athlete Podcast with myself, Tracy Hayes, my co-host, Tom Reber. As everybody knows in town, he's been here since mortgages were created. And we have a special guest today, Vicky Walker with HMA Mortgage. We're going to be talking about loan officers today, the trials and tribulations that we're dealing with as the market changes, as I talk a lot on the Real Estate Podcast, Excellence Podcast, with the real estate agents, what they're going through as the market has changed here in the last 18 months and what we're looking forward to in 2024. Tom, I know you have an announcement here, as both of you are part of the Mortgage Bankers Association here locally. So, Tom, lead us off.
Well, as you know, February 21st. February 21st at the Bank of England Theater, we're going to have the original voice of the Jaguars, Brian Sexton, be our special guest.
Exciting.
So it's exciting times. I'm looking forward to it. I talked to Brian. He's in Kansas City today. He's working his way around, and he is so fired up about the 21st of February. It's going to be from 10 o'clock to 11:30. $15 for an MBA of Jacksonville members, $25 for non-members. Light fare will be served with regards to breakfast and coffee. But the message, the information, the knowledge that's gained, and of course, it's on you. If you can't find a new friend at the meeting, that's on you. We want to have you there. Check your logos and labels at the door. Be ready to explore. Vicky, you're our chairperson.
Yes, I am. And
Tell us all about what you got going on.
So listen, also, too, if you are the $25 ticket holder, and that's you're a non-member, you're paying, you will automatically become a member through June of this year. So best deal in the mortgage industry right now. It is exactly the topic we all need to hear, which is how to get us motivated, fired up, encouraged again. 2023 was a tough year for everyone. Going into 2024, we are starting to see some really good things happen, but it's still a little bit of a slow year. So just the kind of message we need right now. You're going to be in a room full of very credentialed, very skilled professionals. Network, talk to people. It's important. The people that are in this room could potentially help you find your next opportunity.
Well, sharing is caring,
right?
number one.
Absolutely.
Sharing is caring. And a lot of times, having the ability to pull the audience to a 50-50 phone a friend, you've got to learn how to do that. And that's what we're going to talk about at that meeting as well. We're going to give a legislative update. Brian's message is super powerful. It's about finding your frequency. He's going to share his topics on that. We've had him on the Mortgage Athlete Podcast a couple weeks ago. We're going to have a link on this to be able to click on, be able to register, sign up.
MBAJAX.org, MBAJAX.org to register, pay, and get signed up to attend.
Can't be any simpler than that. MBAJAX.org. That's great
exactly.
website. Vicky, I want to tap in a little bit because I've been trying to hound our fellow loan officers around town, but obviously our referral partners are real estate agents and insurance agents that they need to show up to this too. We need to team up.
Absolutely. Listen, if you're looking for an opportunity, I'll give you an example. Tom, 35 years, my 40th year in this business. Because of what happens during a mortgage transaction, you get to meet and get to know very well a large network of people, right? There are people that call me just to say, hey, Vicky, not necessarily about a mortgage. Vicky, do you know a good divorce attorney? Do you know a good criminal attorney? Who's a good insurance agent? Who does structural inspections? Do you know a good repair person? I mean, it goes on and on and on. Because in what we do for a living, we get to know all of those kind of people. And after 40 years of doing it day in and day out, you know all of the people in the local market area that are skilled, that are good, that are reputable. So, this room full of professionals with MBA is a room full of opportunity. If you network, these are folks that need your services. Mortgage lenders and realtors, by the way, have some of the largest network of people that just have needs. They have needs for professional services. And this is the room to meet.
Well, I think that's the direct benefit for you personally if you could show up and network. But what I was tapping in with what's going on, we've had some recent legislation in Tallahassee moving insurance, hopefully in a positive direction. We're seeing that. But to support those who are being the point of the sword as far as our representatives going to Tallahassee and even to D.C., that we need to represent and be there and know that we're behind them, and maybe if we have an idea or a thought or something we can pitch to them, but to show support for those people.
Absolutely. And let me give you an example of what some of our board members are doing currently. Yes, the MBA is a very strong arm for the real estate industry as a whole, not just for mortgages, but for the real estate industry as a whole. they do line up and sync up sometimes with National Association of Realtors and builder organizations, whatever, to try to put things into place to help people. I'll give you an example. So Nicole, who works with Landmark Title, she's the director of their business development. She is currently trying to push through legislation and is working with a group of people to help veteran buyers be able to have portability with their tax exemption. Because right now it takes up to 12 months for that tax exemption to kick in for a veteran after they close their loan, which means they're paying 12 months of taxes needlessly. They're trying to push it through so that the portability is immediate at closing. But those are the
You're talking like for like a fully disabled where they're not paying any taxes.
Correct.
Oh yeah, that's
So do it right now up front rather than wait
that's not
until
happening
it's
now. They
it's
have
not
to
happening.
wait almost 12 months before it catches up to the closing.
We did a boo-boo. I remember that, but that would have helped. But that could be a qualification thing. You might have where, based on that family and that veteran being disabled, they're getting approved because with the tax exemption, you throw the tax on there because they don't have that immediate portability that you're talking about. Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, for
huge.
sure.
And Nicole Carroll's just such a smart, capable individual. She is the secretary for our board of directors, and she and a group of people are trying to push that through. But that is just one small example of what the Mortgage Bankers Association does on a daily to try to help. That's local to Florida, of course. She's trying to push that through for the state of Florida, but MBA does things on a national level to help all of us.
Right,
for sure.
Right.
Yes.
Well, there's no doubt about it. I mean, every asset of our economy, if it comes to one factor, housing, and how many people it evolves from making refrigerators to stoves to building the house to,
Without doubt. I mean, historically, it has been shown over and over again that when the housing market is healthy, the financial markets
starts
are
with housing.
It starts with housing. We're kind of like the canary in the coal mine. We see it first before everybody else does. Like we see the layoffs first, we see the pay cuts first, we see the companies consolidating, selling first because of things that are going on in the economy. We saw all of that the end of 2022, all of 2023. We're starting to see more of it in 2024. Now we're starting to see some of those unemployment numbers pick up, which, by the way, as this may sound counterintuitive. We need those unemployment numbers to become worse, and we need the inflationary number to get closer to 2 for us to really see those Fed tax cuts or rate cuts that everyone keeps talking about.
Right. What's interesting you say, Tom and I were just talking about this yesterday afternoon because it was just months ago or last year. I'm watching Congress, having the Fed chairman's like, we've got to cut inflation. And the congressman says, well, so basically to do that, we got to worsen the economy based on calculations for every 2% of unemployment, 1% in inflation or some calculation like that. So they're like, so we need to get unemployment to 8-9% to get your inflationary numbers down to 2. And they're like, yeah. And yet this Friday, they're bragging about unemployment numbers, which we'll tell Barry Habib says we're not accurate.
Right. There's some controversy around those numbers. Yes, for sure.
So, well, let's dig into the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about. I know you had a question you wanted to throw to Tom, and that was, how is he Mr. Motivation? If there's anybody could come in a room and make people laugh and smile, it's Tom Reber. So, Tom, I'll let you ask the question.
So, Tom, anytime you walk into a conversation, into a room, and I know this because I've known you for over 35 years.
Yes.
The energy immediately changes for the better. And you have been doing this for so long. You have managed a team for so long to great success. People love working with you. They love working for you. How do you do that after all this years of doing this day in and day out? How do you keep yourself motivated? And then secondarily, how do you continue to motivate your team? And especially in an environment we're in now, right?
So the environment is we all know it's difficult. Okay.
It is.
And it starts, your day, your regiment starts with you. What are you doing for yourself? Because you realize when you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror, you're literally going to forecast fear and failure. You have to crush that. And it's a race to check the first box for yourself.
How do you do that for yourself?
I literally go to the gym. And I do my chaos class. So I get up every morning at 5. I pregame for my gym, which means I read in bursts. I don't read novels, but I read in bursts, information, knowledge. I do show and tell. So when I go to the gym, I actually bring up topics to others, and we have open conversations as we warm up. And then from there, my group it's a chaos class at Bailey's Jax Beach. Eye Candy Randy's our trainer, and he is our ringmaster. Eye Candy Randy.
What?
And I love Eye Candy. Eye Candy Randy, the trainer of the Stars.
Is that what the girls call him? I mean,
hey, all I can tell you is I love Randy Warren. Eye Candy Randy's been my trainer for 3 solid years. He's had a front row access between 6 and 7 o'clock for me.
Oh, boy.
And he'll tell you, wow. So that's where it starts. Is I invest in myself.
Yes.
I enrich others, and they enrich me back. Because I get my game on, and then when I leave the gym, I'm energized, ready to go because I've invested in myself. I checked the first box for myself. I'm in a lather. I've worked up a sweat. I'm in a lather. I've invested in myself. Now it's time to go hit the streets. It's time to go hit the day head on. And what is your plan? Because guess what? I try to list out every day 10 things I'm going to do. I'm lucky if I hit 3, but
so
man,
focus.
100% focus.
Yep.
Give yourself the targets. And the more targets you hit, the better, right?
That's right.
And then
but
I'm
you
going to
got
put
to have them to hit them.
And then exactly,
Right?
and then so I get after it.
Yeah.
I come strolling into my office about 8:30, hair on fire, coffee going. But by the time I leave my house to get my office in 15 minutes, my goal is to make at least 3 phone calls. 3 phone calls, witness and respecting, calling a customer,
Okay.
calling an agent.
Yep.
Witness and respect is calling somebody in my sphere and letting them know and reminding them that I love them and they're important. I get a lot of juice from that.
Important.
So I actually call others between my drive from my house to my office, which is a whopping 15 minutes.
I've received some of those phone calls, and listen, it can turn your day around.
It can turn your day around
It really
because
can.
I
Yes.
try to bring wind beneath the wings of others.
Yep.
And when they soar, I soar. So I make 1 personal, 1 agent, and 1 business. And I take
before
those
you even hit the office.
before I even hit the office. And then there's times
Powerful.
I'll pull into the parking lot, I'm still talking on the telephone. So my 8:30 arrival time may get stretched out to 9. I'm here, but I'm still on my 3 calls in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And then I come in and I immediately dive into my day, my checklist
Emails.
of 11
Yep.
things.
Right. Yep.
You know why it's 11? Because 10 plus 1 more. 10 plus 1 more. What's your 1 more? That's that magic 11.
Yep.
Right?
I love that.
In the game of blackjack, when you get 11, you're excited because there's a chance that you're going to get blackjack. What's your 1 more? So that's just between now and 10 o'clock. And then I come in, I hit it hard, and my goal is when I hit 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm going to go make a sales call. I'm going to have a cup of coffee. I'm going to go for a therapy drive because guess what? Between the windshield, you start making things happen.
Yes.
And then hopefully, knock on wood, something will pop and you'll get an opportunity and you start then providing influence and value to your customers because you need to earn your fee for service.
Correct.
And remind others
Correct.
that they have to earn their fee for service. Hoping is not a strategy. Investing into others.
Right.
Getting to know them. What are their needs?
You know, that's also, it's so important. If you don't have a plan, if you don't have something that is somewhat of a structure in an environment and in a job where someone can lose complete structure, right?
Absolutely.
You can have 1 phone call and your entire day goes into a whole different direction of chaos. But if you have some sort of a plan, some sort of a structure and a routine, it makes all the difference in the world. Really, of you feeling like you're in control, that you're moving into the next thing. And you're so right about contacting people, making those phone calls. You never know what opportunity that's going to lead to.
That's right. You never know. And you mentioned, and I've coined this phrase on our Mortgage Athlete podcast show, is find your Serengeti of opportunity.
That's right.
I knew it was coming.
I know, I had to give it to you because it's my favorite place to be. The Serengeti of opportunity. Your Serengeti is different than my Serengeti.
Right.
If you don't go into the Serengeti and find opportunities, what are you doing?
I'm going to record Serengeti of Opportunity on one of my speed buttons here so I could just,
Hit it.
Serengeti
opportunity. Serengeti opportunity. That's right. Be great.
I mean, and I'll leave this. I medicate myself mentally all the time. And so I go through, and so I tell people all the time, this is a cup of Tom. This is 5 minutes.
You do.
This is a cup of Tom.
Yeah.
Boom. Here's your cup of Tom.
And it makes a difference.
It makes a huge difference. And then when you help, the classic Zig Ziglar, when you help enough people do what they want, they're going to make sure you get what you want.
Absolutely.
Obviously, talking to as many real estate agents I do and interviewing them full on their story and what are they doing, the biggest real all the successful realtors that are out there. I'm going to say make sure you say realtors. I've been correct. It's not realtors, realtors. So I just make a joke of it now. All right. But the realtors that are out there, some, I won't name names, but you guys know who are at the top of the list when we run our reports, and they are out there with a goal of to have 20 conversations a day, 10 conversations a day. Don't go home until they've had that 10th conversation. Whatever that goal is that they have, is you have 10 things, they have 10 conversations. And, you were talking about yesterday, what do we want to talk about, leading up today and what we want to talk about. And that's, you got to continue to have the conversations. Yes. You got to continue to be calling out. How can, you never know. The crazy stuff that's going on right now, as we know, every loan seems to be harder than, it's got so many puzzle pieces we're trying to put together.
That's right.
Somebody has fumbled the ball, because we know we've got a lot of inexperienced loan officers out there trying to do, where us in this room, I mean, was probably 70 years of mortgage experience easily. Actually, with you guys, probably 80 years.
Thank you.
80 years of mortgage experience in this room. But solving those problems, and you never know when you just go out there, just, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Just want to make sure you got any issues I can help you with. And that's when that ball's fumbled, and you're there.
Absolutely. So, and listen, and you have to make those phone calls. Anything you do in this business, your first question should always be, how does it affect my point of sale? How does it affect my customer, right? Including building your referral network.
Right.
How am I going to help this person on the other phone get what they need from either a mortgage lending, from a mortgage loan, the money that comes out of a mortgage loan, how is that going to finance their hopes, their goals, their dreams? Possibly consolidate some things, possibly pay off some settlements. You never know what they actually need that money for. It's a huge asset, including, but real estate agents are the same way. They are also our customer base, right? You have to be calling them, hoping to add value to their day, hoping to give them something that will help increase their business as well. And if you start out with the number one motivation being, how does this affect my point of sale customer? You almost can never get it wrong.
Right.
And certainly you get better at making the phone calls. You get more skilled at having the conversations. You get more skilled at adding value. And it does take practice to do that, but you have to come from the right mindset.
I think we underestimate. There's one point you made in there that just triggered a thought in my head, and that is, can we call that the agents are working hard as well. Especially some of them that came in 1920, it was real easy. Now they're having to work to dig a little deeper to find the gold and
hold on to the deal.
To let them know that, hey, we're out there, we're thinking about them. Maybe if it puts a smile on their face, whatever little juice we can give them. I think we underestimate that.
We do underestimate that, and I'll give you an example. So, we've had platinum approval at my company 4 years, right? We added this $2,500 guarantee to the seller if the loan is turned down for any reason for credit. After we've given platinum approval, we'll pay the seller $2,500.
That's guaranteed right there.
Wow.
Yeah, right. And I guess at first when I heard it, I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool, whatever. I mentioned it in passing with some of my phone calls, not realizing what an impact. Holy cow, they seized onto that, and some of the agents who are really savvy, they always are looking for that thing to give them an edge. What can I put into MLS to make my customer's property more available? They would say, look, we have a preferred lender who is going to offer my seller $2,500 if the buyer you bring, if you use them, if the buyer you bring does not close for any reason, my seller wants that $2,500 guarantee. So, this is something that we would like for you to use as our preferred lender for my seller. And some of the listing agents are very aggressive about protecting their sellers, and I love those and again, Tom and I, we talked about this in our last thing that we did. Loan originators know those agents, right?
Yep.
I mean, after 40 years, and no exaggeration, I've worked with thousands of agents. I know the ones that are good at certain things, right? There are ones that specialize in new construction, beachfront properties, some that specialize in properties that got a ton of property conditions or repairs that need to be done. And then you've got people that just are really good at listings, good at selling properties. They don't typically go into the buyer piece of it, or they have an agent that helps them with that, but they're really into listings. You want to call your loan originator first. I tell people all the time, sometimes you get out of order by calling the realtor first. It's more effective if you call your mortgage originator first. You get your money in line. You find out who the best people are for the type of transaction you're doing. We're certainly going to know who they are. Make sure, however, that you're building a great success team. What I mean by that is interview your mortgage loan originator. How long have you been in the business? Have you been doing frontline origination? How many years?
Right.
You know, make sure that whoever, it's a huge money transaction, make sure you're getting the right people.
I love the NMLS Consumer Access.
Yeah.
I go on there and look up and find everything about everybody, what's going on, and you can learn a lot. You know, when did they just start the business 2 years ago? You know, I don't think I always
16 jobs in 10 years.
Right.
you know, it's the ones that we know in our business, most people outside the business don't understand is, generally a new company will give you something to get started, that kind of thing for 90 days or whatever, and you literally will see loan officers every 12 months doing that. I'm seeing sales managers, at least they're listed as sales managers with loan officer companies, that are literally management hopping, resume hopping. I used to be in the telecom. That they used to do that all the time.
Yep.
I don't understand how they continue to be hired as sales managers because they weren't doing anything the last 12 months. What, you're going to hire them as a sales manager? I don't understand that part.
Tracy, also too, in our business, there's a million different jobs you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Were they actually doing origination, or did they just roll out of operations into
Right.
production? How much do they really know about true origination, where you are sitting down talking to someone about a financial transaction?
Yes.
Right.
It's not just a mortgage. You're talking about short-term goals to buy the property they want, but also long-term goals. How does this fit into a long-term financial plan? How can I use this asset
Right.
to gain money to do other things in my life and finance those
Yep.
things, right? Listen, if you can afford a $2,000 to a $3,500 rent, you should be in a home.
Yeah.
Period. Call an experienced loan originator. Just get the information. It costs you nothing to get pre-qualified, or let's put it this way: it shouldn't cost you anything to get pre-qualified. Okay?
right.
If somebody's charging you an application fee, call another originator. Okay,
Right.
call me, call Tom, call you. But get someone with experience to tell you exactly what those numbers look like, and also have those conversations about strategic refinances.
Yeah.
What does that look like? When should I do that? Why should I do that? How can I use this money? A good originator is going to have dealt with so many transactions for so
Right.
many different customers. They can give you some really good advice.
I've come across something in the last not even 12 months, talking to different companies, and I didn't even realize this. I think all of us have worked for a larger, whether it was a bank or larger institution, but where there are, the brokers are better guys out there, which there are some really good brokers out there for sure. But there are some brokers that are pinching pennies, and the loan officer has to pay for their credit report. Well, the credit reports are no longer $30 or $40. They're getting up in the 3 digits, to pull a credit report.
Yes.
So talking to some of these loan officers, they're like, well, we'll talk to the customer. If they say that their credit is marginal or whatever, I'll kind of coach them, but they're tentative to hit the credit to actually find out what's going on so they can help them with that problem.
They'll do a
directly.
soft pull they'll do a pull one repository instead of all 3
Yeah.
repositories. Then when they go in to pull the other 2 repositories, now there's a whole bunch of issues
Yeah.
that need to be dealt
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
And listen, the cost of doing a mortgage has gone up, as we know, quite a bit over the last 24 months. Right, it's one of the biggest issues a mortgage company deals with. I know I ran one for 7 years, and your biggest question is,
100%.
what is it costing me to do that mortgage? If you're a loan originator, your first question needs to be, what is it costing me to make a living?
Correct.
Right? How do I make a living, and how do I get through times when my income could possibly be impacted? How do I pay myself? Right? So when you're taking a look at those costs that a broker has to look at, that they're paying for out of their own pocket, now all of a sudden their cost to do their job and keep their monthly finances going just went up, and they have to absorb all of those costs themselves. For us that work for lenders, that typically is absorbed by our lender who we work for. We're still 100% commission, so we're still
Right.
self-employed, but they are having to absorb that. Now, does that mean that our commission may get adjusted? Does that mean our pricing may get affected? We may have to accept a lesser commission for a year or two while the costs come down a little bit, so that, again, number one question, our pricing that goes out to my customer, which is the discount point, the interest rate, can stay competitive, can stay low. I may have to take a cut in commission for a year or two. Well, can you afford to do that, right? Have you built yourself up to a place where you can do that? That's where a lot of companies and frankly, banks are struggling. It's also why there's such a difference between lenders, brokers, and banks at different given times. It's why it's so important to shop around to know who you're dealing with.
Right.
Because pricing, closing costs are going to be so different because of some of those factors I just talked about.
Well,
The other
tweak it
thing
into
is, too,
the market today because it's tight out there. And
It's
some of
very,
these
very
smaller
tight. It's very
brokerages, we don't have the bank behind it, or a large as cross country, for example, that they see that as a cost of doing business,
Right.
pulling a credit report.
Correct.
That's just ante to play, as Quicken Loans would say. How finding that right, like you said, going in and researching, doing a little bit of research, not only on the real estate agent you're choosing, but the mortgage company you're choosing.
It's so important. And also, too, all lenders are not the same, no matter with what they charge you, because they may have costs that they're trying to control, but also in credit underwriting.
Yes.
A lot of lenders have overlays to what the agencies require that in order, and I know they're probably trying to mitigate some kind of risk that costs them a lot of money at some point in time. They're trying to mitigate that, right? And so they will have overlays, which means they could turn you down, but if you go to another lender who doesn't have that overlay, you could actually be approved.
Yeah.
It's so
and
important.
it's very
right?
important.
It's so
And,
important.
You've run a mortgage company.
Yes, I have. Brand underwriting for 10 years.
You've brokered, you've corresponded,
Yes.
you've run a company.
Yep.
You're originating today.
Yep.
The influence and value that you provide is amazing. As I like to say, it's people, process, technology in that order equals synergy. And
Yeah, it does.
your advice that you're giving today is awesome, and it's amazing
Thank you,
stuff
Tom.
with regards to the abilities, the skill set, the understanding, and the background with all facets of the game. What do you see going into 2024 that potentially could be a game changer with regards to the influence and value that you provide?
So, people right now need a strong support system. It is so important that the people you choose to do business with are actually credible.
Yep.
Here's the thing. You've got to have problem solvers, man.
Absolutely.
In this business, you can't solve a problem unless you've got some experience and you've got a network of professionals to turn to.
Yeah.
Because Vicky Walker may know a lot, but I don't know it all, and I never will. I have to have the Tom Rebers of the world. I've got to have the Tracys of the world to pick up the phone and say, have you ever dealt with this before? Do you know who does this? What is going on? That is why I worked so hard way back in the late 1980s, started building my network of people that I got to know that had nothing necessarily to do with income, although it did result. That was one of the byproducts of building that referral network, that resource network. But it had to do with being a one-stop shop for my customer. And when I mean more than just mortgages. I mean, if you're going through a divorce, if you need a criminal attorney, if you need whatever it is, I wanted to have all of those people lined up that not only I knew did this for a living, but also had some level of understanding at their professionalism. Were they an expert at it, that kind of thing. Going forward in 2024, if you are serious about building your business, then you have to be serious about building your resource network. The MBA event that we're having
No question.
coming up, that is a prime place where you want to be. And it really doesn't even matter you are going to get jazzed up and hear the speaker, and Brian Sexton's going to do an amazing job. It's going to be an exciting event. But why you're really there is the people that are in that room, man. You want to meet those people. You want to schedule a coffee, a lunch, whatever. That's your resource network that you want to build.
I've been telling Tom we need to. A couple different contests have actually come into my head. Actually,
Oh my gosh, here we go. Love it.
I'm challenging the loan officers to invite referral partners, real estate agents or insurance agents, or like you said, title companies as well. So, could we have some sort of even nominal gift for someone who invites the most
Absolutely.
non-mortgage people?
We have door prizes all the time. I'm known as the wine lady.
Yeah.
I bring wine and crystal everywhere I go. Beautiful crystal dishes and wine. Okay, that's what I do. But you know what? That's another thing. You've got to also learn how to market yourself. What do you want to be known as?
But then the other
I can
contest
give away, absolutely.
leading into your networking is to challenge to see who could get the most business cards from the
So
others
much
in the room.
fun.
Yeah, can bring me some trophies.
And the others have to testify that person, introduced themselves, exchanged pleasantries at least for 30, 45 seconds
Tracy,
or
I love
something.
that. That's absolutely something we can do at the very beginning.
Yeah,
and say,
so
hey,
That's just some
whoever-
fun.
whoever
News
can
is
come up with the most
we
business
could definitely
cards,
come
we
up
can
with
ask.
something for
Yes,
that.
we
And
can.
Tracy, I like the idea.
Yeah.
Obviously, with Brian there, with the original voice of the Jaguars and been working with the Jaguars for 30 years, I'm going to work on getting some Jag swag.
Yep.
Something
Yeah,
we
if
can
it's
do with
even if it's just a ball cap, it's just, we're competitive people.
Yeah, yeah.
And, we want to walk out to be the one, we're the last meeting's champion.
Well, I like that idea, Tracy. Great point. Vicky, you have brought a lot of lift to the MBA of Jacksonville. Thank you for joining me on the board.
Thank you.
Being a part of. We've actually taken
Great opportunity.
the MBA of Jacksonville, and it's now the Phoenix. It's coming out of the ground.
Listen, it has been defunct really since 2017.
Yeah.
Through Tom's leadership and the people that he was able to put together on the board of directors, he brought me in as chairman. He knows my job, my skill set, which is
Thank you.
a different kind of skill set than what most people have.
Yes.
And we were able to bring this chapter alive
Yes.
again. And rolling in, we brought in some amazing speakers. We had Chip White and the executive
Florida Housing
management with
Corporation.
Florida Housing coming in talking about
I thought Vera Jones last year.
Vera
was good.
Jones is
oh
amazing.
my gosh, we've had some amazing events. Brian Sexton,
Dan
gonna be
Quiggle.
another one. Yep. So I mean, it's a great organization to be a part of. It brings a lot of value to its members, and like I said, the number one value it brings is these are the people you want to meet and build.
This is
relationships
the
with,
game
for
players, the changers, the game changers in this market, providing influence and value, earning their fee for service.
Yes.
So many cool people. Tracy, you have also done so well, not only with the Real Estate Excellence podcast, bringing sunshine and rainbows to real estate professionals of elite level. Really, thank you. Thank you for putting together
thanks
the
for
Mortgage
having
Athlete
us.
podcast, which is fun. All mortgage athletes are welcome.
Yep.
We welcome all. And I wanted to make that point because the MBA of Jacksonville welcomes all.
Absolutely.
And everybody has a voice. I love the phrase, sweat equity lasts forever.
Yes.
You can write a check and solve a problem for a moment. But if you want to have a voice, provide sweat equity, you'll always have a seat at the table.
Absolutely.
And I just now more than ever.
Now more than ever.
Because our government officials are they're going to try to rectify this ship, and they're going to go too far the other way.
but who
They
knows
need
what's
our
going-
voices that are
Yes, they do.
the soldiers on the ground that are actually doing it.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
I love it. That
And
is-
the consumer, if I have any advice for the consumer, it's this. Number one, again, interview your team.
Yeah.
Make sure you're dealing with seasoned professionals. Look up their reviews, like experience.com, Google, look at their reviews, see what people have to say about them. Number two, remember, and I want to make this point. It's going to sound trivial, but I think it's important. Interest rate is the most temporary thing on a mortgage deal. Don't get too wrapped up in what interest rates are doing. The two things on a mortgage loan that you can never change is the check you write for the closing cost and the check you write for the sales price. Once those checks are cashed, you can't change those two things.
Yeah.
Your interest rate you can change at any time.
Yep.
So don't get too hung up on rate. Of course, you have to be able to afford the mortgage payment, but don't let interest rate keep you out of this market. We are in a buyer's market right now. Now is your time to move. Come to an experienced loan originator. Let us tell you what you qualify for. Let us help counsel you through that. And then let us help get you pushed out to a real estate agent that fits your needs perfectly. An insurance agent's going to give you the best
Up
rate.
front now,
Up
right?
front.
We've been
That's
talking
right.
about that.
That's
Get
right.
the insurance
Collaborate up
agent
front.
right up front.
That's
Insurance
right.
agent.
Right up front.
Would
Yep.
you guys agree with what we know is going on? Tom, you and I had a conversation yesterday about layoffs in general, but there's mortgage companies collapsing
Big
every
time.
day.
Or selling.
Or
consolidating.
selling,
Yep.
consolidating, or whatever. You are going to see situations where everything looks good for the first week, and all of a sudden that loan officer doesn't realize the doors are closing in the second, and you're supposed to close it in the third week.
That's right.
And you need to do that due diligence if you want to make sure you're getting the finish line.
Well, it's like I tell people all the time. I've been around for 40 years. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Tom's been around for 35 years. He's not going anywhere. You've been around for a long time. Go with people that are in it for
win it.
life. We're lifers. And I love what I do.
Yeah.
Call
too.
people that are actually going to be there with you and that you're not going to have to be worried about things like that because, yes, right now that is a risk.
Yep.
You could be doing business with a loan originator today and all of a sudden their company is no longer in business and they're struggling to find
Yep.
placement for that loan.
Yeah.
As Tom knows, the plug was pulled overnight, right?
Yeah.
We want to get deep into that. All of a sudden, the next day you come in, the door's locked,
Yeah,
right?
well, what the heck just happened?
True.
Yeah.
And we've all been through things like that, right?
Yeah.
It's scary when it
Yeah.
happens.
And that's where our fellow mortgage athletes need to know they have friends in the business.
Yes, they do. And that's when you want to call people like look up people on MBA, look for the board of directors, call and say, look, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Who is a loan originator I can turn to that can take over 5 loans now that are closing in 15 days,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
These are the people you call that have
Gotta have the
access
right
to
friends.
those,
Right.
that have
Well,
access to those.
and I know we're going a little bit over it, but I want your opinion on this because there's loan officers, just like the real estate agents are jumping. They're consolidating
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
real estate
yes,
offices too, and they're jumping. If you're out looking for a better place to do your loan originations from, call some of these senior people.
Oh, yeah.
We're
Yes.
bombarded. I've gone through it here recently. We've gone through it different times. We talk to different people, hear what's going on, and what might be their best fit. Don't go out there like the other loan officers out there to help you. We can give you advice on what other companies
Tracy,
are doing
that-
so you can make a better, wiser decision.
Man, that is such a good point. Listen, I never make a move. Tom is one of my top people I call. I have 5 people.
I took his advice this last time. We'll see where it goes.
He gives great. I will tell you, he gives great advice. He gives great advice.
Hey, I
You
haven't
can't
steered you
control
wrong
the
yet.
company. You can't control the company, but he gives great advice. But yeah, I have 5 main go-to people. I mean, I don't make a move until I call those people. But guess what? My number one question is before I do anything: how is it going to affect my customer base? How is my move going to affect my realtors? How is it going to affect my buyers? I don't want to mess those relationships
without a
up.
doubt. Right.
That's my number one question. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Anything else we want to add? Vicky?
I think it's
Thanks
good.
for coming
I
on.
mean, yeah, absolutely. Thanks
Yeah.
for having me. Listen, I could sit in here and talk all day.
Oh,
about
certainly.
mortgages. I love it. I love it. It's what I live for, man.
Well, I can tell you, thank you for being a great guest on the Mortgage
you,
Athlete
Tom.
Podcast. Tracy, as usual, you're a rock star and for being a phenomenal host. And hey, witness